I tell you that I have never devoured a series the way that I have devoured this series. I say it with my whole chest.
Welcome to Narratives and Nightcaps, books, beverages, and author conversations. I'm Bree, always ready to dive into new fantasy worlds and take a step back in time.
I'm Megan, part critic, always team physical copy, and forever chasing good thrillers and a great plot twist.
I'm Emily, your resident mood reader who thrives on chaos questions and lively book chats.
And I'm Jordan, equal parts heart, humor, and high-functioning caffeine addict. I come with coffee in hand, wine on standby, and a Gilmore Girls quote for every occasion.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Hello! Welcome back.
Yes, hello. Oh my gosh.
Emily, very important question for you.
Yes.
How does it feel to be like the hometown of Jimothy?
Oh God, yes. I was just talking to Kyle about this because I've seen Jimothy everywhere. Like I saw him put on a cake. Like someone decorated a cake with Jimothy, and Kyle was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, it's a raccoon Jimothy. Like, how do you not know?
Yeah, he's bringing us all together. How are you not aware of this?
I mean, like everybody, love and obsessed with Jimothy, hometown hero. I would not be surprised if by the time we get to the fall, everything in Seattle is Jimothy. Just that is, I think, just going to be the new flag. Like there'll be a flag on top of the Space Needle for Jimothy. Would not be surprised. He's best. No, I have not seen him in person. I would freak out if I did. He's just, I don't know. I've seen all the videos. I think many of you have seen him too. And I don't know how you don't love him. He's just adorable. He's, I don't know, the best. And who knew that this is a genetic thing among raccoons, shortened spine syndrome? I get who knew?
Not me.
Who knew? But
Not me, but I love him, and I immediately thought of you. Also, speaking of things happening in and around Seattle, how was Julia Lovely's launch party?
It was so fun. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just awesome. You guys all can relate to this, right? When you're celebrating a friend that had a dream and worked hard and made it happen, whether that's writing a book or running a marathon or, whatever it might be, it's just fun to celebrate a friend, right? And so it was fantastic. She was so excited, rightfully so. And it was cute. It was a great indie bookshop that was hosting the event. And I think she actually sold out on some of the hardcovers. And so I was like, yes, go, go, go. So I was so excited for her. And it's just, I mean, like I said, celebrating a friend that, reaches that dream, that accomplishment, celebrating an indie author that has gone through all of the trials and tribulations to get to Pub Day just is worth, I would say, a double cheers all the way around. So it was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. She looked wonderful. She looked so happy, and I only wish we could have been there to help cheer her on and support her too, but we were certainly there in spirit. It looked like a lot of fun. I'm glad that it was so successful and went so well.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. I just love celebrating author signings. Everyone's always so excited. It's kind of one of the reasons that I think the book community is a really special corner of the world, internet and in person, because everyone's, generally speaking, very supportive of each other, which is awesome. Readers are just the best, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Yes.
I can agree more. Well, we have to jump in because I haven't looked at what people are mostly reading, minus Megan's first book that I am now just so excited for. So I'm going to go ahead and let you kick us off because I want to hear all your thoughts about your first book.
Okay, so my nightcap to start off with, I had I had a bad mom day, if you will. I don't think it's that bad, but I obviously swim lessons got over, went to hit up the McDonald's drive-thru, and right now they are serving dirty Dr. Peppers. We do not have a swig or a fountain soda style shop currently in Iowa that I'm aware of, or at least not in my area that I'm aware of. So if anyone, obviously we've all watched Mormon Wives. I feel like they are always drinking a dirty Dr. Pepper of some sort or a dirty soda of whatever. So when I saw that McDonald's had this, I grabbed one I wish it would have been diet because that's my preferred drink is a diet Dr. Pepper. However, this was pretty dang good. Didn't ask for a large. They gave me the biggest size they had. I was like, okay, I'll take it. I guess you're seeing something in me that I'm not seeing in myself, and I really need this right now. But it was really good. It was just I never asked like what the full ingredient list was, but I'm pretty sure it's just Dr. Pepper, a little bit of creamer, and then like whipped cream on top so that it has like this nice foamy extra sweetness. I don't know. It was really good though. So that was my drink pick. And then it has nothing to do with my books because my first book is very depressing and I feel like Dr. Pepper is so like fun and bubbly and etc. So, this one, Brie, I had to like search back through the archives because this is your book that I need to give back to you. I need to mail it back or whenever I see you next, I'll bring it to you.
I have like 4 of your books on my shelf.
Cool. Okay. But I had to look back through our archives because I swear we've talked about it or like that you've talked about it before, but I couldn't find anything official.
I've definitely, I think, yabbed about it because, well, I don't want to just steal your thunder here and like talk about how I feel about this book. But you and I both did Beautiful World, Where Are You?
Yes. Which is another Sally, which I guess I haven't said. This is Normal People by Sally Rooney. So yes, we read Beautiful World, Where Are You? Another Sally Rooney. And so I'm guessing in our conversation about that, you brought this one up as well. I wanted to make sure we hadn't like officially covered it.
We have not officially covered it that I can remember. And as someone who went through probably 24 documents today looking at books that we've covered, this one never popped up that I can remember.
Also, speaking of, because you just did this too, was your Google search like in the drive very helpful? Because I was like typing in like normal people and then it brought up any time that anyone has said like normal, normally, normal, whatever. And I'm like, this doesn't help me at all, Google. So maybe do better on your search engine there. But okay, so this is Normal People by Sally Rooney. And this is the setup brought to you by our good friend Goodreads. At school, Connell and Marianne pretend not to know each other. He's popular and well-adjusted, star of the school soccer team, while she is lonely, proud, and intensely private. But when Connell comes to pick up his mom from her housekeeping job at Marianne's house, a strange and indelible connection grows between the two teenagers, one they are determined to conceal. A year later, they are both studying at Trinity College in Dublin. Marianne has found her feet in a new social world, while Connell hangs at the sidelines, shy and uncertain. Throughout their years in college, Marianne and Connell circle one another, straying toward other people and possibilities, but always magnetically, irresistibly drawn back to each other. Then, as she veers into self-destruction and he begins to search for meaning elsewhere, each must confront how far they are willing to go to save the other. Sally Rooney brings her brilliant psychological acuity and perfectly spare prose. Wow, I should have proofread this before I just copy and pasted. Perfectly spare prose to a story that explores the subtleties of class, the electricity of first love, and the complex entanglements of family and friendship. Whew, that was a lot. So, I feel like we've all picked up by now. I like I don't know what even genre this is called. I'm calling it like sad realism because it just feels so like you have been in this situation. You have had that love, or you've had even like a friendship that everyone's like, well, don't tell anybody, but we're actually friends, or some, something like that. So I just feel like everyone's gone through this, and you can feel that just sense of like almost belonging in this book in a way. It is a very heavy read. Like there are definitely trigger warnings throughout on like substance abuse, abuse, suicidal ideation, etc. So this is not to go in lightly. I think a lot of Sally Rooney's writing though is along this vein. So just take her as an author in that perspective. But I just felt like you can just see yourself in these circumstances. And obviously this is probably a little more drawn out, and especially because they're overseas and not in the US, so not everything translates perfectly. But just the way that this makes you feel, I think, is probably the biggest point to hit on. And I said, literally, Sally Rooney is a master at making you feel, because we flip back and forward between like Marianne's point of view and then Connell's point of view, and just how each is feeling in this different moment in their lives. And then each time they come back together, how that entanglement works. And it is a love story in a way, but it's in a way that's like, it was always you, but equally it was never meant to be. Like it was just, they're so in love and yet they're just not necessarily good for each other either. And then yet at the same time, their relationships outside of each other are just as toxic and just as bad. So it just makes you wonder if it's them or if it's other people. So they are definitely creations of their circumstances, I think. And not everything is as it seems. You know, Connell's from a lower class family, if you will. Like his mom's a housekeeper. And yet he's grown up a certain way and has like a certain realization about himself as a person and just the way that he carries himself. Whereas Marianne is more the rich girl stereotype. And yet she's the one that's kind of like suffering abuse behind closed doors and things like that. So it just shows that you never really know what's going on in someone's life until you connect. And then the last point I make is I have not yet seen the series, but it is on my list. And I know, Brie, you're like, come on, just watch it. But I had to get through Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders first. And then so I just did that. And then I watched, because I had a kid-free weekend, I'll just say, preface this too. So I've been trying to do a lot of things that I want to do. And then I watched, Brie, the Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen.
The whole thing?
Yes, the whole thing.
And thoughts?
Okay, and I liked it. It was definitely creepy. It gave me like the spooky like summerween that I needed. However, I started reading like all of the Reddit feeds afterwards because I was like, there are some plot lines that just don't quite match up. And so then I had to see what everybody else was saying. And that kind of ruined it for me a little bit. I shouldn't have done that. But that's okay. So aside from Sally Rooney, that's what I did this weekend. So I know I need to get back to, I need to watch the series for sure. Because it looks like it's very well cast also.
Oh my gosh. The casting is, to me, it is, okay, I'm about to give it, hold on. Before I do that, Emily Jordan, have either of you read or watched Normal People? Have you read Sally Rooney?
I haven't read Sally Rooney. I was just going to say that, Megan, this is totally, just from hearing it, like what I would classify as a Megan book. Yes. Because I always am so intrigued to pick up the books that you bring. But I feel like I need like a big deep breath before I dive into it. And like a palate cleanser ready on the other side.
Yes.
100%.
100%. Yeah. You need like Sally Rooney and then like Emily Henry afterwards. And I think that would be a good.
Well, yeah, I need to like, or Allie Hazelwood, or I need to like go between. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I would say though that if you're going to intro to Sally Rooney, Normal People is probably the one to do it with.
There you go.
It's also short. Like it's a smaller book.
Yeah.
It's a tiny book. I would say that so I have watched the series a couple of times, which take with that what you will about what that says about me, that I love it and that it is so sad and I cry every single time. To me, it is like it's an incredible adaptation. The casting is wonderful and just the adaptation as a whole, much like the book, it is extremely moving. To me, that book and the series too were so powerful in their depiction of anxiety and depression. Mm-hmm. And so as someone who has had that her whole life, like when someone captures that so well in words that you've never been able to express, it's incredibly powerful. Both the book and the series, I would say, have sort of this indie kind of feel to them. And I have always loved like independent films like that and stories, but also the same thing in that they then stay with me for so long that I have to have palate cleansers that give me something that make me feel happiness and joy on the flip side of that. Yep. Because it's just very moving and very sad, but a lot of that is because it feels so real. It feels so real. The other thing I will say is like Normal People, so Sally Rooney's writing style is very different from pretty much anything I've ever read, so it takes a second to kind of adjust to it, and and what it is, but I think that that is like part of the reason she makes you feel like you were saying, Megan, just her writing itself is, it really makes you feel for the characters that are at the forefront of the story.
For sure. And I will say too, just building off of your comment about her writing style, like it's very like stream of consciousness almost.
Yes.
And there are no breaks for banter or anything. Like it's just truly like you don't even know when dialogue is happening. It's all just written in. So it's just, yeah, it's just total stream of consciousness in a beautiful way, in a way that makes you feel everything.
You're deep in the POV, is what you're saying. Like you are like in their brain.
In their brain, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, loved that book. So glad we talked about it. I hope everyone has a chance to read it. Because I mean, I think too, like if you want to feel something deeply, she's definitely the author to bring that to you. But B, like Bree said, I feel like it does bring a lot of words to maybe your personal feelings or feelings that others have had that aren't always so well depicted or kind of more glossed over. So if you want some more language or some better ways to even ask like for help or like ask the right questions, I feel like this is a book that kind of leads you to some of those conversations as well. Okay, so my palate cleanser after this one was Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Interesting choice.
I was going to say, is that a palate cleanser?
Actually,
Let's just say this one has a happier ending than maybe Sally Rooney usually does. So, so this one is After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I don't know if I said it out loud, but I am trying to be a Taylor Jenkins Reid completist. So
Same.
I'm working my way there. I think I only have a few more to go.
Unless and then she announced her one coming in 2027, which I'm
so I was gonna say, unless she just keeps pumping them out, I'm gonna have to keep up. But so this one, like I said, is After I Do, again brought to you by Goodreads. When Lauren and Ryan's marriage reaches the breaking point, they come up with an unconventional plan. They decide to take a year off in the hopes of finding a way to fall in love again. 1 year apart, and the only rule, they cannot contact each other. Aside from that, anything goes. Lauren embarks on a journey of self-discovery and quickly finding that her friends and family have their own ideas about the meaning of marriage. These influences, as well as her own healing process and challenges of living apart from Ryan, begin to change Lauren's ideas about monogamy and marriage. She starts to question, when you can have romance without loyalty and commitment without marriage, when love and lust are no longer tied together, what do you value? What are you willing to fight for? This is a love story about what happens when love fades. It's about staying in love, seizing love, forsaking love, and committing to love with everything you've got. And above all, After I Do is the story of a couple caught up in an old game and searching for a new road to happily ever after. So, has anyone read this book?
No, but it is on Kindle Unlimited, and I am adding it to my library as we speak.
There you go. Yes. So this one I liked a lot. I honestly, you know me, 99% of the time I'm going in completely blind. So I didn't know what this one was going to be about. And I really appreciated how Taylor Jenkins Reid depicted a marriage of, I mean, I think they were coming in at like 5 years of marriage, and how when you kind of get complacent and you don't really do things differently in your routines, or like how you speak with one another, how that, things, those qualities that were once maybe charming and what you fell in love with start to become annoying and fall to the wayside. And I just thought this was a really good depiction of truly how a marriage can fade. And if you don't fight for it and you're not willing to put in the effort and choose each other every day, that this could have led to divorce. And in this book, it didn't. But and just kind of shows, I mean, we're all married women here, so I think we all kind of could relate to some of those aspects of, oh, your laugh used to be so cute, and now it's really freaking annoying.
You're right.
Not true. I love Kyle's laugh. I love my husband.
I'm just kidding.
But so the other aspect of this book I really liked, I don't necessarily agree with taking a year off from your marriage. I think that's a little crazy. I think there's other steps that could be taken to resolve
Drastic.
issues if you're in that position. But I do like that this was, as Goodreads kind of highlighted too, this was about, so it was all from Lauren's point of view. And it was really about her finding herself again without being in this marriage and what she found to be important, and how even if you do stay married with someone or you're in a long-term relationship with someone, it is good to take a step back and reflect on yourself and what's important to you and what your values are and why you even chose something like that to begin with. And I felt like this did a really, really good job of sharing those messages that she found within herself, but then equally how her family influenced some of those ideas. So like her sister is single, but also very adamant of like choosing herself and starting her own business. Her mom never got married, but is in a serious relationship with her own boyfriend. And now later in life is talking about getting married for the first time. And then her brother is also, he's become accidentally a baby daddy, but he is committed to, being with the woman that he got pregnant, and they want to raise this child together and they want to be a family. So it's just a really cool process of showing all different stages and ways to love and how that love is still important regardless of what phase of life or age you are. Overall, I just really liked this book. That wasn't a huge palate cleanser from Sally Rooney, but it was an interesting one. And it did have a happy ever after, like they got back together, no spoilers, but
Okay. That is a thing with Taylor Jenkins Reid that I don't think it's talked about a whole lot. Like she does wrap things up really, really well. She does the ending really nice. Sorry, I cut you off, Emily.
No, Jordan, you're fine. I was chuckling because I love, Megan, that your opening line to intro this book is, guys, it has a happy ending.
Yeah.
Let's say with a happy ending. I read it with a happy ending.
Yeah. Guys, she is reading Allie Hazelwood for our series. Special.
I know, but I laughed that was the opening headline of this book.
Well, and I do put Taylor Jenkins Reid in this category that is love stories, but not the romance genre.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a huge difference, and I like to see that the powers that be in publishing and marketing are doing more to differentiate those. Like I love the romance book space. I love that. But there is sometimes a difference between this is the romance genre and this is a love story. And in some cases it has a happy ending, and maybe in some cases it has a different sort of ending.
Yes.
Sure. No, you're right. It definitely toes that line, or she toes that line. So I would agree. I love that. Well, I actually am not going to stray too far. I'm not going to call this a pivot on my first book that I've selected for the recap. So let's kick it off with my nightcap. Y'all, originally I had planned to bring a classic glass of red. I was going to go with Bordeaux. It's too freaking hot. So we are going with a High Noon watermelon seltzer, because that's just what your girl needs sometimes in the summer, is a good seltzer on ice. So that's my nightcap choice for this one. But yes, let's keep going on the marriage theme, because I'm going to tell you about The Burning Side by Sarah Damoff. And thank you, Goodreads, for the recap. From the author of The Bright Years, the story of April and Leo, a couple on the brink of collapse. When their house goes up in flames, family secrets and thorny histories emerge as they are forced to decide what is worth salvaging. When April and Leo's house burns in the middle of the night, they escape with their 2 young children and the quiet knowledge that the fire is not the only thing threatening their family. They retreat to April's childhood home in Dallas, where her spirited parents and siblings provide both comfort and complication. As the family reckons with the aftermath, grief, guilt, logistics, memories scorched and intact, the fire exposes the cracks already forming in April and Leo's marriage. The novel unfolds in alternative perspectives, from April, who feels the crushing weight of motherhood, marriage, and self-blame; from Leo, a high school history teacher shaped by a lonely, fractured childhood; From Deb, April's generous and no-nonsense mother, who has to contend with her husband's recent Alzheimer's diagnosis. And from flashbacks that trace April and Leo's relationship from its earliest days of connection to the devastating decisions that led them here. A family saga suffused with humor, longing, and heartbreak, The Burning Side is about what we inherit and what we choose, about forgiveness and the ache of being known. It is, above all, about the meaning of home and the costs of long love. So, to kind of piggyback a little bit off of Megan's description, because I feel like, sort of like After I Do, and Taylor Jenkins Reid, Sarah Damoff did just a fantastic job of demonstrating what marriage is really like, right? And the work that goes into it, the level of commitment, the relationship, all of these things, right? And I personally appreciated the multiple POVs in all of this too, because you're getting, it's kind of almost like, do you guys remember Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson's movie on Netflix? I think it's called The Marriage Story or something to that effect. Highly recommend that movie too, because it's very good. I just am a really big advocate for the content that we consume, right? Telling us like it is, telling it like it is. And this was one that absolutely did that. This is not going to be a spoiler. This is not going to be a surprise or anything, right? Like immediately we start off with the fire, and the fire happens like the night essentially that April and Leo agree to divorce. They like, this has like, they are just, they're going to go through this process, and then all of a sudden their house burns down, right? And I'm not going to lie, I've shared on this podcast, obviously, I work in the insurance industry. My hat's off to Sarah Damoff, because the timeline of this all, like, it's not just an overnight thing, flip a switch and you have a paycheck from your insurance company. Mm-hmm. No, there are tons of steps that have to happen. And I appreciated that this book actually went through a little bit of that too. I'm not going to lie. And it didn't get into like the nerdy weeds of it all. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying that, like, the communication, right, that April and Leo had to have about the different logistics, and as they were navigating, okay, telling the family, telling the children, figuring all of this out, like, it was painful, and you feel for both of them. And then throw in Deb's perspective, which I thought was a very interesting take. Yeah. And I really loved and appreciated that. That leads me into kind of a little bit of the trigger warnings as well, too. If you or someone you know, right, is a caregiver for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, like this, like, major trigger warnings on this too, or even just postpartum depression as well, because there's a little bit of that, both from Deb's perspective and April's perspective. And as you kind of navigate all of these different moving parts, it was such an easy book to digest on audiobook as well. I thought the narrators did a fantastic job. It was one of those for sure that I was like searching out various chores and things I could do around the house just so that I could keep listening, or like when it was a little cooler earlier in the month, I could go for my walks and keep listening. So anyway,
I have to say, Jordan, I'm so intrigued that there's the mom's perspective.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of books out there, and I'm going to overgeneralize, right, on like, you know, working through marriage, or I love how in the summary it talks about that long love and like, how do you, you know, if you're pulling apart, you come back together and all of that. But usually it's only the two POVs. Yeah. And then you're like, you know, going back and forth. And to have the third of the mom or mother-in-law in there is such a unique take. I don't think I've seen that in many other stories.
Well, and it's so interesting. Again, this isn't really giving anything away, right? But like, so they move in with Deb and her husband after like the fire and everything like that. And so you're kind of getting like, you feel like you feel for Deb, and then you also relate to her, because before April and Leo reveal what they're doing and the decision they've made to divorce, she's like, something is going on, my daughter is in trouble, and she's navigating that with also her husband and his deteriorating brain, his deteriorating mind. And so then you're like, oh man, like, how do you do this? Like, it is, I mean, anyway, I thought Sarah Damoff did a fantastic job with this. So if you're in the mood for something a little bit, I mean, I would say this is like medium heavy, honestly. Like, I just felt like it was, I'm not going to go so far. I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything or give anything away. Megan told us that After I Do has a happy ending. I won't tell you how it ends, but I will tell you, is it worth the read? Yes. So that is The Burning Side by Sarah Damoff.
Very nice.
Yes. Okay, I will pivot us a little bit, because I have been dying to talk about this series, and forgive me in advance, I will apologize in advance, because I cannot contain myself. This is The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon by Beth Brower. And if I do not leave you wanting to read this series or listen to this series, I'm not doing my job. I'm not doing it justice. So, listener, ladies, here we go. I've arrived in London without incident. There are few triumphs in my recent life, but I count this as one. My existence of the last 3 years has been nothing but incident. The year is 1883, ladies and gentlemen, and Emma M. Lyon has returned to her London neighborhood of St. Crispian's. But Emma's plan for a charmed life and studious life are sabotaged by the eccentric cousin Archibald, her formidable Aunt Eugenia, and the slightly odd denizens of St. Crispian's. Emma M. Lyon offers up her unselected journals for your pleasure, however self-incriminating they might be. Armed with the wit and a sideways amusement, Emma documents the curious realities of her life at Lapis Lazuli House. Okay, so when I tell you that I have never devoured a series the way that I have devoured this series, I say it with my whole chest. I'm absolutely not kidding.
You audiobook this? Jordan, sorry.
Oh, you bet I did.
I figured. I was like, when you were reading that, I was like, she audiobooked this 1000%.
Oh, and I'm not going to lie. I believe her name is Genevieve Gaunt. Mm-hmm. Genevieve Gaunt, if this somehow finds your ears, I want to bow at your feet. You are, hands down, one of the best narrators. Who makes me laugh, who makes me cry. I giggle, I cackle, all of the happy things and all of the sad things. So this series, I can't say enough how great it is. These go down so easy. The first few volumes, maybe the first like 3 to 5, less than 200 pages. Finished the audiobook in a day, because the audiobook was like less than 5 to 6 hours. The later volumes do get a tad longer, and I follow Beth Brower on social media, on Instagram. I've read a couple interviews with her. She has plans to take this to like 19 volumes, 20 volumes. Each volume is 2 months. So you're tracking like a year in the life as each, as each entry goes, as each volume goes. And it's just so wonderful and fantastic.
I have to ask, Jordan, because I'm a huge Downton Abbey fan. That's just, I love Downton Abbey. This sounds like similar vibes.
Oh, you betcha.
I figured. Okay.
Okay, here you go. It's like your classic Downton, Bridgerton, but it's much less drama. It's much less messy. I mean, yeah, sure, there's drama, there's messy.
But not to that extent, yeah.
but not in the same vein, if you will. We start off, Emma M. Lyon, she's essentially an orphan, right? Her parents have died. She's come back to claim her rights as owner of Lapis Lazuli House, and just the characters and all of the different ones that you get to follow through this. I mean, it's just magical. I am so excited for volume 9, and I cannot wait to keep going with this. I will probably continue to audiobook. And okay, so yes, here we go. Last story that I have to tell on this before we get to Emma's book, because I did put in my notes that I would have to tell you all how I got my husband into it. And I promised him that I would mention this on the podcast too. So, honey, I love you. Yes, I know you're listening. So here it is. We were driving last month to Phoenix from Denver, which is about anywhere from like 11 to 12 and a half hours, closer to probably 12 and a half hours, you know, just going straight through, right? And we had picked a book on audio like we typically do that we were going to listen to. We were listening to it totally fine. It was super early in the morning when we left. So first stop, husband pulls over, says, hey, I need an hour. Like, I need a nap. Can you drive for another hour? By this point, we're kind of close-ish to the New Mexico border. I thought, cool, great, not a problem. You can nap. I will take over. Listened to music maybe for about 15, 20 minutes. And at the time I was in volume 3. So I was like, oh, all right, perfect. 15, 20 minutes, he's snoring, right? And I'm like, cool, great, perfect. I'm gonna switch it over to my volume 3. I'm gonna listen to me some Emma M. Lyon. Make it to our next stop. By this point, he's woken up. And he's listening with me, right? Just kind of casually got him into the middle of volume 3. He's cackling, he's laughing, he's asking me, he's like, what is this? What's going on? And volume 3 ends. Kid you not, ladies. Volume 3 ends. Mark goes, wait, what? What? That's how it, wait, what? It just ended? No, wait, huh? I said, don't you worry. Volume 4. We finished volume 4 and volume 5. I think Emily commented on my June recaps. She was like, how did you get this many books this month? Listen, audiobook on that road trip, 1,000%. And you best believe my husband actually went back and
I was going to ask, he listened to 1 and 2?
He went back and he listened to 1 and 2. And then I was so upset with him because he finished volume 8 on his own before I did. I was very upset. I'm still working on forgiveness, babe. So
that's a hysterical story. I have to say, Jordan, I've been in such an audiobook slump that I have
this will get you right out.
This I will give this a try because I need something that's gonna bring back audiobooks into my life.
I'm so glad that I knew that I know that now and can tell you, you want something for that. This is chef's
perfect.
So there you go, ladies. That is the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon.
Sounds so fun. Well, I'm gonna jump in then with my nightcap. While I am drinking tea today, my nightcap, at least for this recap, has been my absolute favorite beer of the summer season, really all year, but it just is particularly good in the summer. And it's a peanut butter cookie ale from Narrows Brewing in Tacoma. I'm obsessed, absolutely obsessed. It's delicious. If you like, I'm not an IPA person, I don't like a lot of hops, right, in my beer. So this is just a nice, crisp, cold summer ale, but does have that kind of cookie flavor. And what I love is they do take, is where I'm going to get over my skis on brewing beer, but they do take the leftover mash, I believe it's called, or the leftover from brewing this beer, the peanut butter, and they make peanut brittle out of it and serve it at the brewery with their peanut butter cookie ale. So it's like extra awesome. Highly recommend.
Sounds good.
So yeah, no, cheers to that. If you're in the Washington area, Seattle area, highly recommend. They're in Tacoma. It's great. Okay, so I have been frantically reading because I think when the 4 of us last got together off pod, I was saying I was going to bring a throwback to this recap, but I have turbo read. So I've got 2 new books to bring. Yay for turbo reading to talk about today. And I didn't realize until I was putting my notes together that one takes place on Martha's Vineyard and one takes place in Nantucket. So we're very much New England, like summer here. Okay. So the first one is Our Last Vineyard Summer by Brooke Lee Foster. And we'll just get into it. Again, thank you, Goodreads, as always. After suffering through her first year of graduate school at Columbia, following her senator father's death, Betsy Whiting is hoping to spend the summer with her boyfriend and hopefully end the summer as his fiancé. Instead, her mother, a longtime feminist and leader in the women's movement, calls Betsy and her sisters back home to Martha's Vineyard, announcing that they need to sell their beloved summer house to pay off their father's debts. When Betsy arrives on the island a week later, she must reckon with her strained familiar relationships, a long ago forbidden romance, and the complicated legacy of her parents, who divided the family even as they did good for the world. Following a dual timeline between 1965 and 1978, and filled with the vibrant sunlit nostalgia of the cherished New England vacation setting, Our Last Vineyard Summer poignantly captures 2 generations of women navigating love, loss, and womanhood while trying to find the courage to stand up for what they believe in, and the strength to decide if the home they once loved is worth saving.
Sounds so good.
Yeah, I'm so in.
Highly recommend.
It's like 300 pages, and I finished the last 150 in literally last night. Like I could not put it down. Highly recommend. I also want to give a shout out to Booksparks because this is part of their summer reading challenge. And so thank you, Booksparks, for that. But I loved this. This is just a captivating summer read. Like if your vibe, I think we've joked on here before about, coastal grandma summer or like New England vibe. Like if that's your vibe, this is your book, 100%. I really loved, so the dual timeline is between Virgie, I think I'm saying that right, and then her youngest daughter, Betsy. And they go back and forth with Virgie in 1965, and then Betsy in 1978 when she's coming back and her father's passed away and all of that. But it was a really stark contrast on just how far women's rights progressed, like in their timelines, just reading them navigate day to day and the challenges that they were each facing. And then obviously comparing it to like my day to day. And like, just, it was a really, I thought that was well done by Brooke and when she wrote this, and really interesting to read. The dual timelines too also kept it really interesting because we as the reader are discovering all of the senator's secrets and the family's secrets at the same time that Virgie is finding out about them in 1965 and then Betsy discovering them in 1978. So it's a really interesting and so like back and forth timeline in that respect. I also have 2 sisters, so the 3-sister dynamic in this book was extra fun. The POV is told from the youngest sister, so there were many times that I was like, give the older sister a break. So Katie and Sarah, if you're listening, like read this and then let me know what you think. But so that was just extra fun personally, and I think Brooke captured like that dynamic really well between the 3 sisters. I will say, like, it does mention in the summary about long ago forbidden romance and all of that, and there is romantic love kind of in an underpinning, but it takes a backseat. Like this is not, I think we said this on a couple other books, this is not a summer romance like Allie Hazelwood or Emily Henry story. This is truly a mother-daughter love story. And mothers and like coming together and having pros and cons and finding common ground. Yes.
Sounds like it's giving more Kristen Hanna vibes was what I was about to ask.
Definitely more Kristen Hanna vibes, but without completely stomping on my heart after you rip it out.
We can appreciate that.
Okay, it wasn't all like but more of that mother-daughter is like where it focuses on, and then the love story that's there is, as I said, more of a backseat. And I do kind of like I don't want to give spoilers, but I really liked how it ended, or didn't. with those timelines and those like,
Yeah.
I usually am one that likes a nice happy bow wrapped up on everything. And this is one where I actually liked that it didn't.
Okay.
I will say trigger warnings. You could probably have guessed this just on the timelines and that it was, you know, women's rights and everything in the era, but there are trigger warnings just on abortion, alcoholism, emotional abuse. I wouldn't say it's the forefront of the story, but it is mentioned and talked about. And so just fair warning on that one. But this is a great read. It's a feel-good read and you
Right up my alley.
and emotional at the same time. Highly recommend.
I love.
Right here. Yeah.
Question before you go to your next one. So would you consider this one historical fiction, given the time period of it?
Loosely.
Yeah.
I don't believe, and again, I just finished this last night, so I have not done it. I don't believe there's ever been a Senator Walting that owned a house on Martha's Vineyard, so I don't think that like is at all accurate. But I would say that the like day-to-day that they experience between the two is probably the most historical like part of it. And like the attitudes of the characters that you encounter. I'm trying to say this without giving spoilers. that you encounter. Like at one point, I'm trying to think if there's a part I can share that like is gonna but talking about, you know, women getting a loan. Like the house is going to be sold. They have to sell the house to pay the father's debts. And so the three sisters are going, hey, we're all like competent adult women. Let's go to the bank all together and get a loan. And the interaction with the bank in 1978 as three women trying to get a loan to pay off the debt to buy the house to save the family, even though two of them are employed, like was not the same conversation that I might have with a banker if I walk in asking for a loan today, right?
So true.
You know, or like there's a couple of other points where, you know, it's like, oh, have you called your husband? Or like, oh, let me call your husband and verify that you can. It just kind of those things I would say are historically accurate, but the family is not, you know, I think they take liberties like with that standpoint.
But this sounds so good though.
It's good. It's highly recommend for sure. And I will say, I thought it was a happy ending. I thought it was a really happy ending for all of the emotional trauma that you go through when you're reading it.
We like a happy ending here. We do.
I do. I'm not ever, you know, that's okay. But for me personally, I like a nice bow on the ending and we keep moving. All right. Well, we were on Martha's Vineyard in 1965 and 1978 for the first book. Now I'm going to Nantucket in 1851. So I don't know how these two just happened to collide in the same month, but I think it works out. So the next book I want to talk about is The Stargazer of Nantucket by Julie Gerstenblatt. I think I said that right. Another historical fiction. This one is more historical fiction-y than the other one, for sure. But let's get into it. Again, good reads, as always. Thank you. Massachusetts, 1851. Winifred Starbuck wants only to join her parents on their final merchant voyage. Wow, that was harder than I thought. From Nantucket Island to bustling San Francisco, then across the glittering Pacific to the distant ports of China. Yet renowned trade captains Nell and Peter Starbuck have forbidden their daughter from coming aboard on the adventure of a lifetime. So Winnie does what any strong-willed 18-year-old would. She stows away. Once the ship sets sail, Winnie is plunged into turbulent waters, treachery, and the thrill of life on the high seas. As she drifts further from shore and closer to fabled Canton Port, she uncovers a long-buried secret, one that reveals the truth behind her parents' desperate fear. And as she continues to chart her own course, she'll have to plumb the depths of her courage to take on a world far bigger and more dangerous than she ever imagined. This
Cue Emily's dun dun dun.
I was gonna say dun, 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 but like upbeat. This one, this was just fun. This is like, I don't know if you could say like old-fashioned high seas seafaring adventure. Yes, of course there are pirates. Like you're on a merchant vessel. Like it was just fun. Really emotional, impossible to put down. I also absolutely adored Winnie. I do love stories where the female character, I think we've talked about this before, Megan, you've made this comment, is competent and actually like mostly intelligent. She can have moments, but is mostly with it, and you're not spending the whole book going, what the fuck are you doing?
Like, if you would have just thought about it, you could have done it. Yeah.
Right. Obviously, she is 18, so like she does make some silly choices, but it's not like I didn't feel like the whole time I was reading it that I was going like that the whole time. So I loved her from page one. I was rooting for her every step of the way. And she just was a fun, like, because it's from her point of view, the whole story, to read from her perspective. I also really loved seeing Nell and Captain Peter Starbuck like working together. In this, again, and maybe there's a theme across these books. But 1850s, not a big moment for women to be like the head purchaser, because so they have a trading company. So the captains the ships and owns the vessel, and his wife is the one dealing with all the merchants and doing all of the buying and selling of the goods, like when they're in China and when they bring it back to the States. And you don't see that in 1850s anywhere of like a husband-wife team running the business. So that was fun to read, just on that piece. Every story, Jordan, I'm going to take your line again. Every story needs a smarmy weasel, and this one delivered in full force. But it's always fun when you have a villain that you love to hate.
Yes.
I think it just makes a story extra.
They have to earn it, right? They have to earn the title.
The title. And so the first mate is named Sully, and as I wrote in my notes, every great story needs someone to root against, and he was it. And it was just fun to, like, he was a smarmy weasel. I'm going to leave it there. You got to read the book, but he's the worst. Again, this is not really a romance story, but there is romance in the story. It's more about coming of age for Winnie. Again, mother-daughter, like, reconnection and kind of a love story and coming back together. I won't say why, but that was a big central part of the whole story. I will say it actually felt fairly short. So this was only about 300 and something pages. But it covered a massive amount of content. So we start in 1850s in Nantucket when they board the ship and she stows aboard. We then move to sailing around South America. Like, that's a huge journey, right? To get to San Francisco. And they're facing freezing seas and storms and having to cross the equator and like all that goes into that. To then having an adventure in San Francisco, to then sailing to China, where the climax of the book happens, and having to navigate China in the 1850s. So I wrote, like, we cover basically sailing around South America, the gold rush boom in San Francisco, the opium epidemic among sailors and in China, shady trade deals. There's just like a lot of topics going on, which made this a really fast-paced read. But also, I feel like it could have been twice the size, like the length of the book, and I would have been equally engaged because we would have gone deeper into some of those topics or removed some of the topics to go deeper into the ones that remain. But it was a fast-paced read because you're like, wow, and then we've got this coming in and then this coming in. But it was fun. And I'll end with, yes, there are pirates. You're sailing on the seas. Yes. It's not Jack Sparrow, but there are pirates.
We love a good pirate.
Yes. So there you go. Those are my two.
That's like perfect for summer too. Like high seas, you're on a ship, you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, yes.
You're not supposed to be there. Yeah.
I just looked at the cover too. It's really pretty. The cover's really pretty.
It is. You know, it's a fun, I don't have it here on my desk like the other one, but it's fun. I'd recommend both.
That sounds so good. That will be a good one to, well, I don't know if I can get to it, and Shark Week literally starts tonight.
Yes.
So I was going to say that'd be a good one to read like during Shark Week.
Yes. 100%.
Okay, well, I will take us in a couple of different directions here, but beforehand, I looked through all our notes, and I don't think I've talked about this nightcap, and it's also just been my drink of the summer, and I am shocked I haven't talked about it, and if I did, I apologize, but it wasn't in the notes. So I am like all for a Hugo Spritz this summer. That is, so Slight confession, I don't love an Aperol spritz, but I will drink them. Yeah. Okay, like I'll drink it. I'll drink it for the vibes. 100%. I'm in. However, if you let me choose, I'm 100% getting a Hugo spritz, which has my favorite Saint Germain, also mint, lime, prosecco, and club soda. I have made it myself. It's so easy to make, and you can find different variations of the recipe online and on Pinterest and everything. For whatever reason, I can never make it as good as when I order it somewhere else.
It's one of those that you just gotta order, maybe then try yourself, but you still can.
You still can. It's still easy to, and it is so good. And I'm soaking it up as I am very much just wishing for all fall vibes, like fall and winter vibes, in what is the disgusting heat. But when I do want something that is summery and great, the Hugo Spritz has been one of my go-tos the past couple of months. Okay, I'm going to start us off with something a little bit different that I don't think I've covered, and that is Ballad of the Gangster's Daughter by Zachary Slingsby. This episode will be out, but as of our recording, this isn't out just yet. It comes out in a couple of days, so huge thanks to the author for the gifted digital arc of this. And then this recap is from barnesandnoble.com. Even bad men have daughters that can't wait for them to come home. Serena Magic is the gifted middle child of a criminal entrepreneur from the Bronx. By the time she is 12, her father Gerard has cobbled together enough street victories to relocate their family to the affluent suburbs of Connecticut. All is lush and green until the tranquility of their escape is viciously disrupted when a series of tragedies claims one magic daughter after another. Spanning 7 deaths over 5 decades, each chapter tells the loss of a different sister, and every funeral reveals 2 paths for Serena's future. One where she can satisfy her desire for adventure, and another where she continues to protect her family at all costs, even when they are on the wrong side of the truth, the law, or both. She voyages out to the Ivy Leagues, to Washington, and to a career in the music business, only to be dragged back into the family's dilemmas. We follow her dual loyalties, from the fire hydrant showers of the Bronx to the seafood bistros of Southport, from Dartmouth to inner city Philadelphia. Sorry, I cannot talk today. I'm drinking water,
You're
swear.
doing great. You're doing great.
Oh my gosh. From the balconies of Rome to the fluorescent lit supermarkets of Florida, from the apex of her New York City home to a row of tombs and the yoke of dangerous people who love her very much. With every tragedy, Serena must choose. All right,
you are right. This is very different for you, but I dig it. I really like it.
Yeah. So I will say I also dig it. This is unlike anything I have read, but certainly doesn't depart from movies and film series that I love. It's been a while since I watched some of the classics like The Godfather, Goodfellas. I always feels like such a weird word to say, but The Departed, anything Scorsese, like I have watched it, will watch it. Probably as of most recently, if we're talking crime fiction, Animal Kingdom, the series, was like so insanely good. If you haven't ever watched it, I don't know what platform it's on to stream, but you can stream all seasons, and I highly, highly recommend. So, like I said, haven't read this, but I have certainly watched the gangster, mob, mafia, crime, family dramas and have always been super fascinated by those stories. And then interestingly enough, much like those films and the TV, Animal Kingdom I think is the only TV one that I mentioned, the storytelling of this is cinematic. And I've heard or seen a couple of critical reviews that call it sweeping, and it definitely feels that way because you're covering decades, but also with the alternating timelines, it is just very, very immersive. I could easily see, I don't know if it's because I've only watched the film versions of all of these, but I could so easily see this being an adaptation, and I would be there front row and center opening weekend to watch it 1000%. with the family dynamics playing a central role to the story, you really get a strong sense of all of the characters, but I really appreciated that the focus is on the daughters, not only their relationships with one another, but also their individual relationships with their father was really interesting. And with Serena in particular, who's kind of the central character with all of that. It's very refreshing to have a girl who then coming of age grows into a woman play such an important role within this family. I don't know if that's just a me thing, but like to me, that's not very common in a genre like this, that you have these strong female characters really at the center of it. She's a strong, creative character surrounded by dark situations and imperfect people that she loves and that love her. And with every single event and often tragic milestone that happens in her life, you can very much feel the fork in the road. And even there are times where members of her family are telling her to do two separate things. So not only is it a struggle to like decide for herself what she wants to do, but she feels the weight of both sides and like coming from all of these people that she loves and she loves them equally. So I would say like if you like crime fiction, if you enjoy stories with morally great characters, revenge, lots of secrets and lies, of course, then I would highly, highly recommend this. Once I picked it up, I like could not put it down. All that said, it is quite tragic. There are a lot of trigger warnings that come with the genre, violence, everything there. And I had a very deep sense of like melancholy when I finished it. It kind of feels like it's one that sort of lingers with you, much like I feel like a lot of the crime dramas that we all grew up with or that are so fundamental in film, they sort of leave you with that same feeling as well.
This is why I rewatch Gilmore Girls all the time. I'm just saying, just like you gotta have those palate cleanser television shows.
Really?
You gotta have that.
You definitely do. But I would absolutely recommend, especially if this is a genre that you like, or if you've liked any of those films or series too, and other ones that are equal in that, I would highly, highly recommend. And then also we will have Zach on the podcast in early November as well.
Okay. I'm curious, Bree, your thoughts on the ending. I have not read this book, but we've had a lot of like commentary on the endings of the stories this recap. Like if you could like spoiler free, your thoughts.
It's funny because as you guys were all talking about endings of your books, I was like, hopefully they don't talk to me about the ending of this book. Not kidding. I was like, and I'm just gonna totally gloss over that and not say anything. I don't think it's a spoiler because you got it from the recap. Like this is it's a tragic story. It is. So don't go into it expecting a happy ending of sorts, really. I would say it sort of, in a sense, it feels mostly resolved at the end. But we're spanning, I think it's 5 decades over the course of this story. And it's pretty heart-wrenching at times. I wouldn't say I didn't sob, I didn't shed tears, but there were times that the tears were welling up in my eyes a bit. And when it ended, I felt like it was a satisfactory ending, but I'm not going to call it a happy ending.
Okay.
Does that feel okay?
Yes. And I think that's fair too of this genre. Like,
yes.
If
Totally.
you've watched any of the movies you mentioned, I'm thinking like The Sopranos too, like everybody dies. Like you're not going to have many survivors.
I can't believe I didn't even mention The Sopranos. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
or
Like,
even, and it's not quite the same vein or same thread, but it kind of almost is. Like I think about whole like the Yellowstone universe and whatnot too. Like you're talking about timelines, character building, you're talking about all of these things that take place over such a long stretch. And for that reason, it does make it a little more challenging to tie up with like this nice, neat bow. So yeah, maybe the ending's not going to be quote unquote perfect or quote unquote happy, right? Because it's also going to be painstaking to get there, is what I'm trying to say.
It is. And Zach did such a nice. I have not talked to him yet, only just getting the arc and all of that and setting up the interview. But he did such a nice job with, you're moving along chronologically for the most part, but then we do take those back steps in the timeline too. And the way that he was able to weave those in, I think, is part of what gives it such a cinematic feel. And, you know, something happens to a character and then you're going to get some sort of backstory about them and they're going to feel like they're right there in the room with you again. And there might have been some little Easter eggs, but now you're getting the full context, the full story. It was really, really well done from a storytelling standpoint, and it felt a lot like The Sopranos and others. But yes, very true to the genre that you're probably not going to walk away feeling super happy about it.
And if this is your vibe, you kind of probably already have those expectations or that idea. Hopefully
you would have that with the recap, because it sets it up for that. All that said, it still is it's still surprising at times. It still catches you off guard, even though you know what's coming, the anticipation of all of that. So yeah, I would definitely recommend. I'm not going to recommend if like you only read romance, because this would probably be really jarring for you. But if you like the genre, then I think that this is one that you would really find interesting and enjoy for how much you can enjoy it.
Has anyone read like The Godfather?
I haven't read it, but I've seen the movie.
Yeah. I have not read any books of this genre, so this is making me like, I've seen enough. I think I watch Goodfellas at least once a year every year, because it's always on AMC for whatever reason. Like, it's just on. But I would be curious to read something instead of just watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Same. I couldn't think of a book that I had read in this genre. So, well, maybe this one should be it.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. I'm going to take us in a totally different direction for my last one here. I did have to go to the archives for my second book. However, let me preface this by saying that I am currently reading book 2 in the series. So it feels like an okay one to also bring, but I did go into the archives, so I technically read this last year. Please don't ask me a lot of detailed questions. Okay.
I feel that way about books I read like last month. So you're doing great.
You're good.
Okay, so this is The Road of Bones by Demi Winters, which is number 1, the first book in the Ashen series. Scylla Nordvig is running for her life. The Queen of Isildur has sent warriors to bring Scylla to Sunnavik, where death awaits her. When her father is killed, his last words set Scylla on a perilous quest. Travel the treacherous Road of Bones, a 1,000-mile stretch haunted by warbands, creatures of darkness, and a mysterious murderer, and go to Copa, where a shield house awaits her. After barely surviving the first stretch of road, a desperate Scylla sneaks into a supply wagon belonging to the notorious Blood Axe crew. To make it to Copa, she must win over Axe Eyes, the brooding leader of the crew, while avoiding the Wolf, his distractingly handsome right-hand man. But the Queen's ruthless assassin has other plans and hunts Scylla obsessively. Will Scylla make it safely to Copa, or will she fall prey to the perils of the Road of Bones? Okay, so we all know this is no surprise that I love Viking fantasies, Viking books. So the second this one was on my radar, it was an immediate, you didn't have to tell me anything about it, and I was going to read it because it's a Viking fantasy. It is, Emily, you were kind of talking about this too, and even in the recap I just read, this one is also marketed as a romantasy, and I would just say that the romance part is very much a subplot plot. So if you go into romantasy because you like romantasy first and foremost, then I think you'll probably be a little bit disappointed, because this one is very much a slow burn, not just in terms of the romance, but in terms of the story. There's a lot of plot development, a lot of character building. You're introduced to the world itself, especially in like the first section of the book. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I know that happens a lot with romantasy, and then I see people that are like, oh, but the romance wasn't the main focus of it, and I'm like, yeah, no.
Like, blame the marketer, not the author.
Yeah.
A lot about knowing yourself as a reader too. Like, what you've got to know what you're in it for, like you're talking about, Brie.
Yeah. And look, to not to make an excuse, but to go for all the marketers out there, like, I get it too, because romantasy is a part, and so they want to lean into all of that. But all that to say, this is very plot character focus, especially from the get-go. And I'll just add, but I'm not going to spoil it, I am more intrigued about the romance aspect heading into book 2 than I was with book 1. So, if that keeps you going through book 1, if you are the person that's like, where's the romance? Just keep her going, keep her going. Like I mentioned, it is slow, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Just know that it really picks up toward the end, and like there are some twists and turns at the end that if we hadn't had a million other books to read, like, I was ready to jump into book 2. I've had book 2 sitting on my shelf for a very, very, very long time, because I wanted to get right back into it. Like most Viking stories, and then when you add in the concept of magic too, the world is very dark, very cruel, quite violent. So check any trigger warnings that you need to, or just know that going into it. If you've also watched any Vikings film or TV shows like I have, and then you kind of know what to expect when it comes to that. But I think it's a good thing to be aware of with this. But I am very intrigued by this story. I will say that there are 3 books out and a novella, and I'm pretty sure it's a 5-book series. So we're in it for the long haul, guys, and we're gonna be here a while. But I right now am in book 2, and all I want to do is read it. Like, that's just all I want to do. I'm so excited. So highly recommend, and we'll see where it goes.
There you go. This one
It's always good to have a book that you like want to pick up all the time too. I feel like I've been kind of in a slump with that recently.
Same. Honestly, same up until this one and Ballad of the Gangster's Daughter. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of feeling, I don't know if it's just because we've had a lot that we needed to read, and so I feel like I've just been churning books out necessarily. It was interesting, I had an author interview this past week, it's not out yet, and she was talking about, she's like, I'm a bit of a slower reader, and I go, I think that's a good thing, because don't get me wrong, I love what we do. I love that we have the opportunity to read all of these books, and I wouldn't change that. But I also recognize that the downside to that is sometimes we can't slow down and just take a moment and be like, and what am I in the mood for? Especially when, I would say a lot of us, but I know I won't speak for all, but like, I'm such a mood reader. So yeah, so when I like have a moment to be like, okay, and now what? So yeah, it is nice, and these two helped with that a bit. Okay, well, all that said, I should probably do a better job and actually know what we have coming up as
a lot of things. How about that,
we
Brie?
do have a lot of things, and if you give me 2 seconds, I can pull it up. Although my computer was like, oh, and actually we need you to verify who you are on everything. I know. Well, it does that occasionally. Okay, what month? What month is it? Where are we going? What is happening?
We'll be in August.
Oh, okay. So we have so many good things coming up in August. One, Megan and I just talked with Avery Curran about Spoiled Milk, which was her debut that came out earlier this year. It came out earlier this year, but if summer ween has been like what you need, or just heading into spooky season and are looking for a paranormal, haunting, gothic type book, then you should definitely look into Spoiled Milk. And Avery was an absolute dream to talk to and so fun. Megan and I were low-key the whole time.
So freaking cool. Like,
She's so cool.
And she's like younger than us too, so I was just like, oh my God. Like,
we're not cool enough to be in her presence.
She's a doctor. She has a PhD. And I'm just like, well, here I am.
I was like, we're 100% not cool enough to be talking to you.
She told us that we were, but I'll take that with a grain of salt.
It was also just because she was really nice. She was so nice. We also are talking to Lindsay Olsen about her debut, To Drown a Witch. If you have liked Heartless Hunter, that's probably the one that comes to mind. Emily, I know you've read that. To Drown a Witch is definitely going to be one to look into. It just came out in July. So highly recommend that one and tuning into our conversation with Lindsay. She was so fun to talk to. It was so interesting to, like, she started writing that book also while she was in school, much like Avery. So some similarities there, some parallels there. Started writing that and, I mean, had to go up to an advisor and was like, so I have to write this book. Like, and if I'm recalling your conversation, like, shifted what she was working on, all of that. So loved talking with her as well. Other interviews we have coming up, we are also talking to Sarah Ackerman about The Shark House, which is a book that Emily brought to the podcast. It's also it's perfect for summer. Like, all three of these,
Shark
Week.
Yes.
This episode comes out after Shark Week, but you know what? You can continue Shark Week as long as you want if you have streaming platforms. There are plenty of options for you. I think Jared is probably very happy that Shark Week is officially starting, because at this point we're rewatching the episodes that are leading up to Shark Week, and he's like, I can only watch Shark versus Croc so many times.
There you go.
Yeah. Really excited. I'm looking forward to it. And then, of course, our Allie Hazelwood time continues with Problematic Summer Romance. So that will be our deep dive. If that was one that you also never escaped last summer in particular, when it was really big, and you've read it and want to tune into our full chat and all of our thoughts, who has started it?
No, I'm not.
Megan, how's it going?
It's good. I think I'm like 100 plus pages in. I'm doing it now because I need to read like a book a week again to like get caught back up to where I need to be. So I figured I'd start with that one and then I'll just continue my path. But it's been good. It's I will say, compared to the first one we read, I am enjoying this one a lot more. It's also like not as in your face sexual plot. It's a lot more like slow burn this time. So I've appreciated that change of pace.
I kind of wondered if that was going to be the case.
And this definitely is perfect for, like, I feel this time of year, obviously, which is why we're choosing to read it. But like, I don't know if you've read like the book cover or anything, but it's going to take place in Italy for Rue and Eli's wedding. So it's like very, very summer, very coastal, very, very Italian. So fun.
I love that.
Yes.
Right.
Well, all of that is coming up on the pod. So like, subscribe, follow along, let us know what you're reading. But thanks so much for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening. The Narratives and Nightcaps podcast is a production of The Craft Co. with intro music created by Remington Haynes.
Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow at Narratives and Nightcaps on Instagram, or visit our website, narrativesandnightcaps.com.
Sign up for our newsletter to always know what we're reading next, which authors are joining us on the show, and for extra bookish and beverage info.
Connect with our additional co-hosts, Jordan and Emily, as well.
You can find me on Instagram at Cozy Reads and Sips.
And you can find me on Instagram at books.bottles.
Cheers.
Cheers.